with very evil intentions coming in before the restrictions. So there it is, folks. It says you can have it. I didn't, and I was a good student. I understand things. I comprehend very well. Okay? Better than, I think, almost anybody. And I want to tell you, I listened to a bunch of stuff last night on television that was disgraceful. It was disgraceful. Because what I just read to you is what we have. And it just can't be written any plainer or better. And for us to be going through this, and by the way, a highly, highly respected judge in Boston ruled very strongly in our favor. You heard that.
He's talking about that judge in Seattle. He's talking about the Ninth Circuit and the arguments made in front of the three-judge panel. You got two liberal hacks on there. The youngest circuit court judge on all the courts right now, rammed in there by Obama, and Harry Reid. She's there too. And the fact is, this should never have gotten to the circuit court. The fact is, the district court should have killed this thing. And for the President of the United States just to sit there and clam up and not say anything. Now, you know full well Obama took on the courts all the time. They didn't say, oh, you know what, that's improper. Oh, what are you trying to do? Influence the guy. Hey, you can't do that. Why not? Why can't one branch talk to another branch? I don't understand. You've got the Democrats in the Senate burning the place down, throwing Molotov cocktails all over the place politically, destroying one institution after another, one rule after another. Trump's not destroying anything. He's speaking out and saying, can you believe the disgraceful comments that have been made? Oh, you can't say that. Why can't he say it? These courts are out of control. People have written books about it, including me. What? You got a lawyer who gets nominated somehow, gets confirmed by the Senate, dons a black robe, has a couple of clerks, runs a courtroom, and you can't criticize the judge? No, you can't do that. Why not? Well, of course we can, and we should. Particularly when the courts are out of control, and they're using the law to kill the law. It's a perfectly reasonable, temperate, moderate executive order. Now, these judges, these geniuses, these three judges on the panel said, well, you know, we heard Giuliani, you know, he said, yes, it was aimed at, Muslims. And early on, Trump said when he was campaigning, you wouldn't let Muslims in there. What about that? What about that? Now, here's what's interesting about that. What does that have to do with anything? They're supposed to read the executive order, not watch TV and cite TV programs. Just because the Washington solicitor did doesn't mean the court has to get sucked in that, but they're looking for excuses in many cases. Look at the executive order. There's nothing wrong with it. It's the president's prerogative, and he's exercising it. And so the judges were asking, what if they would ban all Muslims? And I'm thinking to myself, these judges surely can't be that stupid, can they? Mark, what are you saying? What am I saying? The countries that are not mentioned, 7 countries, are mentioned for rational reasons. They either don't have governments, or they have governments that are extremely hostile to us. And the President of the United States said, we've got to take a closer look at the people who are coming here. I'm not comfortable with the vetting process. So did his Secretary of DHS. Well, you can't do that. No, they have a constitution. They have no constitutional right. Zippo, zero.
Not citizen.
None. But I would like to ask the judges, can you read? If you're watching TV to watch Giuliani, couldn't you even Google and find out for yourselves that 85% of the Muslims in the world don't live in those 7 countries? About 15% do, give or take. 85% of the Muslims, Indonesia, India, and so forth, have bigger Muslim population. And wouldn't it be rational to conclude, if it was aimed at Muslims per se, that the biggest of the big Muslim countries would be covered by the executive order. Hey, judges, I'm just asking you. You're so smart and book-learned, and you got your black robes and everything. What about that? And then, of course, the young lady, the youngest of the judges, says, well, what if it did? What if he did ban off missiles? Then what would you do? Then what would you do? And my answer would be, what do you think, he's Franklin Roosevelt? He's not rounding up people like your hero. He's not rounding up anybody based on their ethnicity alone. No, no, no. The answer, of course, is yes, he could. What do you mean? The answer is yes, he could. There's nothing that prevents him. Nothing. And these leftist lawyers and judges can throw around phrases out of the Constitution all day. Hey, what about the establishment? What about it? There's nothing to do with it. Hey, what about equal protection? Has nothing to do with anything. Hey, what about nothing? The Constitution is not applied
to non-citizens
outside the borders of the country or outside the jurisdiction of the country. It doesn't apply to people who have nothing to do with this country or people who simply decide that they want to come to this country. These are political arguments. They're not legal arguments. They're not constitutional arguments. Wow, I don't think Trump should criticize him. I think he should. I think he should do it more. I think all of us should. They're not immune from it. Oh, they have a lifetime appointment. Exactly. You know, it's like the left. They march on the Supreme Court every other day because they don't have jobs, and they're marching. Hey, we want this, we want that. Nobody's, hey, you shouldn't do that. No. Obama trashes the Supreme Court because he doesn't like the Citizens United First Amendment case. Because he doesn't like the Constitution or the First Amendment. Right there, it is state of confusion speech. And Alito nods no. What? My God! Did you see what Alito? Oh, my God! He nodded no. He shook his head no. You can't do that to the president. No. And so we have a president now who criticizes the court. Hey, you can't criticize the court. What the hell's wrong with you? Hey, that's way out of line. What do you think, Judge Gorsuch? I'm deeply troubled by this. That's what he says. You know, so they try to put him on the deeply. No, there needs to be more pressure on the court, not less. Not less. If you're going to have activists, left-wing activists,